The waves were slow, wide, rolling like deep breaths across the surface of the sea. The sky was soft with clouds, stretched thin like silk, casting pale shadows on the water. A small wooden boat moved with the tide, gently rising and falling, as if it, too, was breathing. In that boat sat Robinson, alone, quiet, calm. His clothes were damp, his hands rested still in his lap. He had come a long way, a journey that began with chaos and storm. But now all was still, all was quiet. The storm had passed, the wind no longer howled, the sky had softened. Before him lay the island. It rose from the sea like a dream. Green, wide, full of trees. Palm fronds danced slowly in the wind. The shore curved gently like a smile. The sand pale and smooth, untouched by footsteps. It was a place that seemed to wait for no one, and yet welcome anyone. The boat came to rest on the shallows, water lapping against its sides with a rhythm steady and low. Robinson stepped out. The water, warm against his ankles, flowed around his feet like silk. His boots sank slightly into the wet sand, anchoring him to this new place. He walked up the beach slowly, every step deliberate, soft. There was no rush. Time had loosened its grip. The island made no demands. He paused beneath a tall tree, its shadow cast long over the sand. He looked up. The leaves above moved gently in the breeze, catching bits of light like little green sails. He listened, and what he heard was peace. The rustling of trees, the distant call of a bird, the breath of the sea behind him. It was all soft, easy, quiet. He began to walk inland. The sand gave way to soft soil, to scattered stones and moss. The path wasn't clear, but it didn't need to be. The forest welcomed him, branches parting just enough for him to pass. Ferns brushed against his arms. The scent of damp earth and wild fruit filled the air. He moved slowly. He had nowhere to be. He noticed everything. A butterfly drifting through a shaft of sunlight. A tree trunk warm to the touch. A tiny lizard darting across a rock, then still again. After a time, he reached a clearing. There, beside a gently murmuring brook, was the place he would call his own. The water trickled between smooth stones, clear and cold and sweet. He cupped his hands, drank and smiled softly. He knelt by the bank, letting his fingers glide through the stream. It felt like the island was alive. Not just a place, but a companion. Gentle, quiet, patient. He stood, walked to the edge of the clearing, and sat beneath a wide tree. Its roots curled above the soil like resting arms. The ground was soft, padded with fallen leaves and moss. He leaned back and sighed. The forest replied with silence. The sky above was beginning to change, golden now, with streaks of soft orange and pale pink. Light filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows that shifted slowly with the breeze. He stood again and began to gather. Long branches fallen from trees, wide palm fronds, curling vines. Piece by piece he built a shelter. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Each motion thoughtful, each knot tied with care. A frame of branches, a roof of woven leaves, sides made of soft bark and curved limbs. Simple, but strong. As he worked, the sounds of the forest kept him company. A bird calling softly, leaves whispering above. The distant hush of waves still rising and falling behind the trees. When the shelter was finished, he stood back and smiled. It was enough. He sat once more, this time beneath the small roof he had made, and looked out at the forest. The light had deepened, the colours of the sky shifting toward blue and indigo. A few stars blinked through the treetops, one by one, like tiny candles lighting in the distance. He listened. The brook still trickled, its sound constant and comforting. Insects chirped softly. The trees swayed. He let his body sink into the bedding of leaves he had gathered. His muscles, sore but satisfied, began to release their tension. His breath slowed, following the rhythm of the island, in and out, in and out. Above him, the sky continued to darken. The stars grew brighter. A warm wind moved through the trees, brushing across his skin like a whisper. He closed his eyes. He could still hear the ocean, just barely, a soft hush beneath everything else, like a lullaby. The forest around him felt vast, but never threatening. Every sound felt like part of a great harmony, as if the island itself were breathing with him. He did not feel lost. He felt found. He thought of nothing. No shipwreck, no storm, no past, no future. Only the now. Only the sound of water, the rustle of wind, the slow, steady beating of his heart. He pulled the palm fronds closer, let the cool night air settle around him, and sighed again. Deeply, peacefully. "I am here," he whispered. His voice barely stirred the air, and the island, in its own way, answered, with stillness, with calm, with sleep. The morning came softly, as if it had been walking on tiptoe. A warm light spilled gently through the trees, painting the forest floor in golden patterns. Leaves glistened with dew, and the air was fresh, full of promise and peace. Robinson stirred beneath his shelter, still half dreaming. His eyes opened slowly. He watched the play of light above him, shadows swaying gently in the breeze. For a moment he didn't move. He simply lay there, listening. The same sounds returned to greet him, the bubbling brook nearby, the rustle of the high branches, the quiet calls of distant birds. Everything was familiar now, soothing, software. He sat up, stretching slowly, letting his arms reach toward the leafy roof above. The tension in his muscles released like a sigh. The night had been cool, but kind. The island, once unknown, had become a place of gentle rhythms, a quiet sanctuary. He stepped outside. The forest welcomed him again. Still, green, alive. A breeze moved through the trees like a whisper, brushing past him, brushing past everything. He made his way to the brook and knelt beside it, cupping water in his hands. He drank deeply, cool, crisp, refreshing. The stream flowed on, never rushing, never stopping, just flowing. Afterwards, he walked barefoot along the forest edge. The earth was soft beneath his feet, damp in places, warm in others. Each step felt like a return. The trees leaned over him like old friends. Birds flitted from branch to branch, and somewhere deeper in the woods, something stirred, slow and unseen. Robinson smiled. Each day had begun to take on a rhythm, not of routine, but of harmony. A simple flow. He didn't mark the hours. He didn't need to. The light guided him. The air spoke gently of time. He gathered fruit from a tree near the brook, round, orange-fleshed, sweet. He sat on a flat rock nearby and ate slowly, watching the sun rise higher through the leaves. The fruit was warm from the morning sun, and its juices tasted like honey and citrus and sunlight. After his breakfast, he walked the familiar path toward the shoreline. The trees parted in the same quiet way. His hand brushed the same fern leaves. And then, there it was again. The ocean. The wide, endless sea stretched out before him, calm and blue and vast. Gentle waves rolled in, one after the other, folding themselves onto the sand. He stood for a while, watching them come and go. Come and go. The sound was hypnotic. The pulse of a world without worry. He wandered along the beach, letting the tide wash over his feet. The sun warmed his skin, and the breeze cooled it again. He found shells, smooth and pink, tucked among pebbles. He found driftwood, sun-bleached and light. He even found a large flat stone shaped like a heart. He placed it beside a dune and smiled. And then there was Taro. A small turtle, no bigger than a loaf of bread, rested near the water's edge. It didn't move when Robinson approached. It simply blinked, slowly. Content. He crouched down beside it. "Hello," he said gently. The turtle blinked again, as if answering. Robinson sat beside it, and for a long while, neither of them moved. The sun climbed a little higher. The waves continued their rhythm, and Robinson breathed slowly, deeply, feeling as though he belonged there. With the turtle, with the waves, with the wind. He returned to the forest by midday and sat beneath his favourite tree. He began to weave thin vines and grasses into a mat, then into a pouch. His hands moved without thinking, his mind drifting with the sounds around him. He wove in silence, stopping only to listen to the soft hum of life nearby. Later, he found a shallow cave hidden behind a thin veil of vines and moss. Inside, it was cool and dark, with smooth stone walls and the soft scent of damp earth. A quiet place, a still place. He sat inside it for a while, just breathing, letting the darkness wrap gently around him like a cloak. He left a small shell there, as if to say, "Thank you." The afternoon melted into evening, and golden light returned once more. Robinson walked slowly back to his shelter, following a trail of familiar sights and sounds. The trees whispered again, the brook sang, and the stars began to wake above the canopy. He sat by the fire he had built earlier, small quiet flames licking the air. They cast a warm glow across the leaves. He watched them flicker, listened to them crackle. They didn't roar. They whispered. With a bit of charcoal, he drew shapes on a flat stone. A sun, a wave, a turtle, a tree, little pieces of the island, little memories left behind in soft strokes. As the night settled in, he lay down again beneath his shelter, pulling the woven mat over him. The breeze had cooled. The stars above were sharp and bright, endless in their number, constant in their stillness. His body relaxed, every limb heavy with comfort. His eyes closed slowly, but still he listened. To the fire's crackle, the water's murmur, the trees, the sea. And somewhere, just beneath it all, the island whispered. It spoke not with words, but with rhythm, with kindness, with stillness. Robinson's breathing matched the rhythm, in and out, in and out. No fear, no worry, only now, only here. His dreams began before sleep even fully arrived. He dreamt of stars and warm waves, of trees that hummed and birds that sang only when the world was ready to listen. He dreamt of peace, not as something found, but something remembered. And the island held him there, gently, silently, as sleep took him like the tide. Night wrapped the island in a gentle hush. Above, the stars hung low and bright, scattered like lanterns across a velvet sky. Below, the ocean whispered, soft and endless, folding itself again and again onto the shore. Robinson lay beneath his shelter, still and calm, wrapped in the warmth of the woven mat he had made. The air was cool on his face, and the scent of the sea floated through the leaves. His eyes blinked slowly, watching the stars through gaps in the canopy. Each one seemed to breathe with him. He did not feel the need to sleep right away. He was resting, deeply, even while awake. The forest around him was alive with quiet. Leaves fluttered gently, night birds sang, their voices soft and far. The brook still flowed, unhurried, carrying stories he would never need to understand. He sat up slowly, without hurry, walked to the edge of the clearing, barefoot, silent. The sky above opened wide. He stepped through the trees, following the soft moonlit trail to the beach. Each footstep was familiar. The earth knew him now, and he knew it. At the shore he stood still. The sea was silver beneath the moon, smooth, vast, deep. The stars reflected on the surface, shimmering gently, as though the sky itself had dipped into the water. Robinson stepped closer. The tide came in, touched his toes, and slid back again. It felt like an old friend saying hello. He walked slowly along the beach, the sand cool and fine beneath his feet. The waves rolled in beside him, never rushing, never tiring. The island moved with him, gently, like a dream that had decided to stay. Ahead, near a crooked palm, was the turtle, Taro. Just as before, resting quietly on the sand, blinking, still, peaceful. Robinson smiled. He sat beside the turtle again, crossing his legs, letting his hands rest in his lap. For a long while, he simply watched the ocean. The horizon glowed faintly. No ships, no sails, just sky meeting water, perfectly still. He thought about nothing in particular, only the feeling of the night. He thought of stars and waves, of roots and stone, of wind that asked nothing and gave everything. He felt the island around him, as if it were alive, not in the way people were alive, but in a quieter way, an older way. He closed his eyes and listened again. The waves, the trees, the wind, all of them speaking the same soft language, not made of words, but of rhythm, of presence, of calm. He rose gently and walked back to the forest, the stars behind him, the turtle resting, the beach returning to stillness. Along the path, he touched the bark of trees, smooth and rough. He paused to feel the shape of a fern leaf between his fingers. The island invited him to notice, to feel, to be. Back at the clearing, he passed his garden, small now, but growing. Tiny leaves reached up toward the moonlight. A small sprout had broken through the soil since morning. He smiled. Life always moved forward, even when it moved slowly. Inside the shelter, he lay down once more, arms tucked behind his head. He gazed up through the roof of leaves. The stars were still there, and something about them felt different now, not far away, but close, like they had come down just for him, to watch, to keep company, to remind him he was part of something bigger, but also something safe. He thought of the cave behind the waterfall, the cool air, the smooth stone, how it had felt like a secret waiting just for him. He thought of the shells on the beach, the ones shaped like spirals and suns. He thought of his drawings on the stone near the fire. He thought of Taro, and of the way the island seemed to breathe when he did. Then he thought of nothing at all. His breath slowed. His body sank into the ground beneath him. His thoughts unknotted like loose thread, drifting into quiet, Above, the wind moved through the trees again, brushing past him with the gentleness of a lullaby. A single leaf spun downward, spiralling like a feather. It landed softly near his hand. He didn't move, only smiled. The forest was dark now. The stars were high. The sea kept singing. And Robinson let himself go, deeper and deeper, into the stillness. He dreamed now, not of escape, not of rescue, but of islands made of light, of skies without end, of being part of something simple, beautiful, and still. He floated in that dream, weightless and warm, cradled by silence and the slow rhythm of the earth. The fire burned low. The garden waited for morning. The waves came and went, and Robinson slept. And the island kept him